All right, guys, here we go. Friday, knocking it out. Starting off power and iron up. We have a 2-rep max shoulder press. So working our way up, gonna get really heavy, right? If you're progressing your way up and you end up really wanting to hit a single, go right ahead. Otherwise, a little bit of extra volume. For instance, let's say my best shoulder press is 220. I work my way up. I finish with that single. That's 220. If I were to do a double on that, right? Not at 220, but let's say 200 pounds, then what would end up happening is my final rep count on that would be a 400-pound volume. So kind of neat. It's a slightly less intensity, but almost double the volume, right? So having a little fun with that, 2-rep max shoulder press. And then afterwards, part 2 is going to be 5 to 6 rounds. So depending on how much kind of your fatigue from the week, how much you feel good, active engagement, building your muscle up, it's going to be 10 T-bar rows at a fast as you can come up. And when we say as fast as possible, remember, as fast as you feel like you can flex your lats, as fast as you can pull this up effectively, not as fast as you can move the bar. So X coming up as fast as you can, squeeze in the top. When you do it, row your back, scapula, everything together. 1 second lower, 1 second pause on the bottom to give a little bit of stretch. Help let that scapula, when it comes back down, protract around and then retract and start your pull. All right, and then afterwards, as many reps possible, seated, heavy band pulls the chest with a supinated grip. So the same way you would do chin-ups is how we're gonna sit. So the band's sitting up there, I'm gonna pull it down, scraping my elbows as though I'm doing chin-ups, but instead I'm holding a band. Just sit on the ground, you'd be good to go. 40 seconds to a minute rest, not a super long rest, so it should feel pretty kind of ultra pumped the entire time, keeping it going. Part 3 is gonna be incline dumbbell bench press, 3 rounds. So 10 at the bottom range, 10 at the top range, and then as many as you can with, and that might not be a high number, but as many as you can, knocking it out. 1 minute rest in between rounds. Part 4 is gonna be single arm dumbbell curls. So again, 10 at the top, 10 at the bottom, and rep it 5 more times. Why the difference between these two? This is a little bit more multi-joint compound on the AMRAP, and down here, we want to try to use a weight enough. This is only a singular joint moving as opposed to multi-joints on this. So with the multi, it's harder to kind of guess how many reps will be left on that full range, so we leave a little bit of a room in there to kind of build that up. On this specifically, we want to use a weight where after the 10 and the 10, the 5 full definitely smoke, but keeping that range from jumping around on you. Sport and fitness. Here we go, 2-rep max shoulder press, just the same. Then you got part 2 is going to be 4 to 5 rounds of 30-second battle. All right, guys, sorry, a phone call came in, so it knocked off the video. Here we go, continuing. So on your part 2, it's gonna be 4 to 5 rounds, 30 seconds battling ropes, right? So you can go up and down. You can use your whole body. You can do from an internal to an external, moving through this any way you want, but then a 30-second rest, 30-second jump rope. If you don't have a jump rope, you can just jump in place. You could also probably do like some kind of delt rotations or something, but this is more about kind of keeping that continual cardio you got going while still working your shoulders. So, you know, you could just do some light jumps in place, move it around, 30-second rest, then 15 and 15-second sledgehammer. So with only 15 seconds, it should be nice and powerful. So 15 on one side, 15 on the other side, 1 minute rest in between rounds. Part 3 is gonna be mini gun, which means one time through of dumbbell curls, both arms, same time, 10, 8, 6, 4. Then you're gonna increase for your 8 reps, you're gonna use whatever you use for the 6th set, and then for your 15 reps, whatever weight you use for the 8th set. Same thing, mini gun tries, same setup. You could lay on the ground, you could do cable extensions, you could do Tates, you could do whatever you want. You could lay on a bench, you could do a decline, right? Lift your bench up a little bit, lay back, stretch across your triceps a little bit more, whatever you guys wanna work, however you feel like you're targeting it, that's what's up. All right, TDY. TDY is gonna be 4 times as many reps as possible dumbbell Arnold press. Now with that, since it's an AMRAP as we're set up, and instead of just thinking press to the sky, think I want to kind of pull this scapula around. Then as I get ready to start my press, I'm gonna pull it, I'm gonna open, I'm gonna retract and press up through at that point. Back down, stretch, open, press. And what's gonna happen is this kind of full range of motion is gonna help get a ton of blood flow into that shoulder. And the last thing you can do when you press it is instead of just kissing the sky, as you press it, lock it out, hold it, bring it back down. So there's no set tempo, but holding that overhead is gonna cause all your upper back muscles that stabilize that position to get a little extra work. Minute to a minute and a half rest between rounds, depending on how heavy you go. Then part 2 is gonna be 5 to 6 rounds of 10 and 10 single arm dumbbell rows, right? At a as fast up as we can. Squeeze it in the top 1 second, 1 second lower, 1 second pause to kind of let that scapula kind of pull back around and initiate back again. So after that, you're going to do as many reps as possible dumbbell supinated grip seal rows. You're laying on this thing, rowing it back up. Check out MHT Daily IG right after this. And then rest 40 seconds to 1 minute between rounds. Part 3, incline dumbbell bench press like we just talked about. Part 4 is the exact same thing we already talked about as well. Again with the 5 versus the full range. Let's say you get to the 5 and you're like, man, I think I could do 10. Then do 10, no worries. And increase your weight a little bit the next round, or increase your tension, slow it down a little bit. Finishing up with TBY is going to be 4 times as many reps as possible. Dive bomber push-ups. Resting 1 minute to 1.5 minutes between rounds. Check out the MHT IG Daily right after this to get a good look at that again. Then part 2 is going to be 5 to 6 rounds, 10 and 10 towel archer rows. So with this, as you'll see when Santi's doing this, you're pulling this is kind of like a little bit of an offset, right? Coming up, a little bit of an offset, kind of focusing more on one side versus the other. You could do all 10 and then 10, or you can kind of go back and forth because your body's going to naturally get a little fatigued and it might cause a little bit of imbalance on one side versus the other. Ultimately, it'll probably be all right. So all 10 on the right, all 10 on the left, or 1, 1, 2, 2, all the way up to 10. Same tempo we were looking at earlier, then as many reps as possible. Supinated towel rows, again, check it out, supinated up, pulling through. Rest 1 minute between rounds. Part 3 is going to be deficit push-ups, right? 10 bottom, 10 top, full range, very similar like we were looking at with the dumbbells, and then finishing up with towel curls. And check this out. So here's a good example. So this is AMRAP full range, and why? For the same reasons. It's a little bit harder because you're going multi-joint to control exactly what that volume is going to do to those arms. So awesome, man. Hope you guys enjoy the pump. Good workout. We'll see you guys back on Monday. Hoo-yah, never quit.